sees it all so clearly. Oh, yes. Vronsky assented indifferently. A silence followed, during which Vronsky, since he had to look at something, looked at Levin, at his feet, at his uniform, then at his face, and noticing his gloomy eyes fixed upon him, he said, in order to say something. How is it that you, living constantly in the country, are not a justice of the peace? You are not in the uniform of one. It's because I consider that the justice of the peace is a silly institution, Levin answered gloomily. He had been all the time looking for an opportunity to enter into conversation with Vronsky, so as to smooth over his rudeness at their first meeting. I don't think so, quite the contrary, Vronsky said, with quiet surprise. It's a plaything, Levin cut him short. We don't want justices of the peace. I've never had a single thing to do with them during 8 years. And what I have had was decided wrongly by them. The justice of the peace is over 30 miles from me. For some matter of 2 rubles I should have to send a lawyer, who costs me 15. And he related how a peasant had stolen some flour from the miller, and when the miller told him of it, had lodged a complaint for slander. All this was utterly uncalled for and stupid, and Levin felt it himself as he said it. Oh, this is such an original fellow, said Stepan Arkadyevitch with his most soothing, almond oil smile. But come along, I think they're voting. And they separated. I can't understand, said Sergei Ivanovitch, who had observed his brother's clumsiness, I can't understand how anyone can be so absolutely devoid of political tact. That's where we Russians are so deficient. The marshal of the province is our opponent, and with him you're underscore and me Kushan underscore, and you beg him to stand. Count Vronsky, now I'm not making a friend of him, he's asked me to dinner, and I'm not going, but he's one of our side, why make an enemy of him? Then you ask Nevyedovsky if he's going to stand. That's not a thing to do. Oh, I don't understand it at all. And it's all such nonsense, Levin answered gloomily. You say it's all such nonsense, but as soon as you have anything to do with it, you make a muddle. Levin did not answer, and they walked together into the big room. The marshal of the province, though he was vaguely conscious in the air of some trap being prepared for him, and though he had not been called upon by all to stand, had still made up his mind to stand. All was silence in the room. The secretary announced in a loud voice that the captain of the guards, Mihail Stepanovich Snetkov, would now be balloted for as marshal of the province. The district marshals walked carrying plates, on which were balls, from their tables to the high table, and the election began. "Put it in the right side," whispered Stepan Arkadyevitch, as with his brother Levin followed the marshal of his district to the table. But Levin had forgotten by now the calculations that had been explained to him, and was afraid Stepan Arkadyevitch might be mistaken in saying the right side. Surely Snetkov was the enemy. As he went up, he held the ball in his right hand, but thinking he was wrong, just at the box he changed to the left hand, and undoubtedly put the ball to the left. An adept in the business, standing at the box and seeing by the mere action of the elbow where each put his ball, scowled with annoyance. It was no good for him to use his insight. Everything was still, and the counting of the balls was heard. Then a single voice rose and proclaimed the numbers for and against. The marshal had been voted for by a considerable majority. All was noise and eager movement towards the doors. Snetkov came in, and the nobles thronged round him, congratulating him. "Well, now is it over?" Levin asked Sergei Ivanovich. "It's only just beginning," Saviashki said, replying for Sergei Ivanovich with a smile. "Some other candidate may receive more votes than the marshal." Levin had quite forgotten about that. Now he could only remember that there was some sort of trickery in it, but he was too bored to think what it was exactly. He felt depressed, and longed to get out of the crowd. As no one was paying any attention to him, and no one apparently needed him, he quietly slipped away into the little room where the refreshments were, and again had a great sense of comfort when he saw the waiters. The little old waiter pressed him to have something, and Levin agreed. After eating a cutlet with beans and talking to the waiters of their former masters, Levin, not wishing to go back to the hall, where it was all so distasteful to him, proceeded to walk through the galleries. The galleries were full of fashionably dressed ladies, leaning over the balustrade and trying not to lose a single word of what was being said below. With the ladies were sitting and standing smart lawyers, high school teachers in spectacles, and officers. Everywhere they were talking of the election, and of how worried the marshal was, and how splendid the discussions had been. In one group Levin heard his brother's praises. One lady was telling a lawyer, "How glad I am I heard Koznyshev. It's worth losing one's dinner. He's exquisite. So clear and distinct all of it. There's not one of you in the law courts that speaks like that. The only one is Madel, and he's not so eloquent by a long way." Finding a free place, Levin leaned over the balustrade and began looking and listening. All the noblemen were sitting railed off behind barriers according to their districts.